It's time for the question of the week. So with that, you got Donald Trump talking about a golden dome over America. Similar to the Simpsons, how they put a dome over America. I mean over Springfield in the Simpsons, and then they start doing all sorts of experiments on people. A golden dome. Here it is. We melanated people need the sun in order to activate our pineal gland, activate our melon, activate vitamin hormone D within our bodies, and many other different things. Not to mention with the new energy coming from the sun, you need to be coated with that new energy based off of us, our evolutionary process of being melanated people and being connected to the sun, the earth, the moon, stars, you name it, as the original people. We need that to ascend onto the next level, the next plateau of life. And here it is, they're talking about a golden dome, a dome that will reflect the sun off of itself and reflect the moonlight off of itself back to itself, making it very unhealthy for our people. But this is their plan. Not to mention, the Anunnaki had that same type of plan based off of Nebaru and their atmosphere collapsing, and they needed to come to a earth in order to get gold, in order to put a gold shield up over their planet. Oh man, similar to the same effect, huh? It's almost like if you don't know your history, you repeat your history, right? Well, I'm not co-signing any of the extraterrestrial, bing boom bang, because at the end of the day, our forefathers and ancestors always talked about the fallen ones and the calamity that they brought to earth. How that work out, here nor there. Because at the end of the day, when we look at the circumstances of building a dome, talking trillions of dollars here. Not to mention, we're talking about building a dome. They're talking about building a dome for defense, missile defense. But at the end of the day, don't we all supposed to be human on Earth, or spiritual beings having a human experience? And yet we're cutting each other off from borders to, now name it all the way down to domes. They had great walls up and stuff and everything else, cutting each other off. How do that work as humans? We only got one planet that we're on. And we are so divided as humans to where now we got to put domes up and block each other off of each other. What kind of being civil or civilized is this? You ask me, all this is savage. Here it is, they talk about they had to civilize us, which we all know ain't true, because from 711 AD to 1400s, that's what the Swarti and Israelites and Moabites was doing up in Spain, Portugal, and Europe for years, cleaning up the wild men of Europe. But now here we are today. We in a boat where they done took over, the colonizers and took over all the lands everywhere, and all we got is chaos. And this is what we're coming into now, where they're talking about building domes to be against each other on one planet that we have, a living planet at that. And all this destruction that is being brought to the planet, and it's a living planet. How long do you think the planet has before it get tired of the chaos that the colonizers are bringing all around the world on its living body, which is the living planet of what we call Earth? How did that work? See, all these different dynamics all go back to the same reality, and that's who? The colonizers. From the trees being, thousands of trees that have went extinct, to all sorts of insects that have went extinct, to thousands of fish going extinct. They say by 2040, 2045, there'll be no more edible fish in the ocean. These are different things that are happening right on our watch, guys, in the sense of these colonizers taking control of all the lands that they invaded and pretty much ransacked for resources and what they consider to be wealth, to pass on generational wealth to their inheritors. And now we in this boat today where they want to reflect the sun off of itself and the moon off of itself. What do you think that's going to do to Earth? That's unnatural thinking. that's going against the ecosystem and nature itself when it comes to our well-being as humans on Earth. They try to make it seem like it's for the best interest of humanity by saying, "Oh, it's going to be missile defense. It's for the missile defense." Yeah, but what about the ecosystem? What about the system that was already in place that governs the world, governs all animals, governs all insects and all living life that need the cycles to continue on the level approach that they've been continued on based off of what was already mapped out by the creator? What about that? See, this is what happens when you got a recessive gene, unnatural beings ruling, because then they don't know how to rule in coexistence with nature, with Earth, with Mother Earth, and with the original melanated people of Earth. Instead, they bring destruction. They bring this conquering, I want to be in power mentality that wipes out everything, digging up all over the world, digging up everything from the oceans to you name it, to find things that will make them, in their mind states, wealthy and rich, and what they consider to be power. And in turn, the rest of the Earth's people, the citizens of the world, have to suffer, sit around and swallow ghetto slums and hoods and poverty and all sorts of chaos based off of that impoverishment that is being orchestrated based off of those that are controlling the resources in abundance to themselves and not allowing the resources to circulate amongst the people naturally in order to keep the people from falling into impoverished states that we are in right now under the cost of living being too high for all of us. All this is orchestrated and done on purpose by the wealthy, rich, and the elite that are out there manipulating the system for their own good, for their best interests. Anybody that takes resources out of the system of life itself that is moving for all of us and hoard it to one area, eventually the area that's not seeing those resources is going to start to feel that struggle when it comes to not having those resources reallocated back into those areas of communities and so on. Thus, they're going to start to lose based off of their infrastructure collapsing, based off of them not getting resources, because the resources are being hoarded in the millions, billions, and trillions of dollars to wealthy and rich folks that they keep on ice, that don't never come back to the system to help the rest of the people, thus causing poverty all over the earth. And that's just exactly what is happening. And we allowing this to go on as the citizens because we keep trusting and looking up to those that have the resources and what they call wealth, thinking that they have our best interests at hand, and they don't, because the destruction of wealth is poverty. And if poverty wants wealth to help them, help poverty not be so impoverished, then they got to relinquish some of the wealth to impoverished people. But they don't want to do that. So in turn, poverty and wealth can't coexist together. It doesn't make any sense. It cannot. One got to stay impoverished based off of wealth being the dominance being took from them. And that's what is happening. We watching these wealthy and rich elite starve the rest of the citizens of the world out based off of them hoarding all the resources, all the wealth to themselves. And in turn, we allowing them to do it because we keep looking up to them to do the right thing when they'll never do the right thing, because in order for them to be wealthy, you must have impoverished communities all over in order for them to keep the wealth. Why? Because they hoarding the resources to themselves, and that resources that they're hoarding to themselves and keeping on ice is never getting back to the impoverished areas that need the resources that they got put on ice. It's just what it is, man. And in that, here it is now, we talking about golden domes. But who is the golden dome for? Do you really think it's going to be for us? Well, I don't know. And I don't understand. But it is the question of the week. You let me know. Peace, peace.